I just read the other day UNICEF said 50,000 Palestinian children have been killed by Israel, just buried in rubble, killed, starved, um, just missing. Like when a bomb goes off, it's so powerful. These modern bombs, when they just fall and take out a building, like a child's body is so small and just will just be obliterated. There's so many children that just turn to dust, just a cloud of dust, and yeah. I saw a reel today, a video today. I saw a short on my phone on Instagram. I woke up today and I turned on my phone, uh, which it's a bad habit. I shouldn't do that, but I woke up, turned on my phone just to check messages and stuff like that, and then first thing I see in the morning when I wake up is I see this kid, this little boy, maybe like 6 years old, with no arm. His arm is just cut off right here. It's just like a bloody stump with like meat hanging off, you know. That was the first thing I saw today, and yeah, I don't know. I just kind of stopped. I couldn't, I could just put my phone down. Um, yeah, and he was crying, screaming, and I used to be a teacher. I used to teach elementary school English. I used to teach English, to little kids, to elementary kids. Um, I taught kids his age, that armless little boy. I taught kids his age for like a decade. Uh, played with them and picked them up, and I just had a great time. As someone who has worked with children for a long time, and just understanding how fragile they are, both physically and mentally. Like, like when you teach little kids, you notice something is like the smallest thing. Is like the biggest thing for them, because they're so young and so innocent, and they have no um, concept or context for the world. Everything's a big deal, um, and their feelings are really important. Uh, so yeah, like if a kid trips and falls and they kind of scrape their knee, that can ruin their whole day, and that can be a traumatic incident, for years to come. And even if you have like good parents or good teachers or good friends, that kid can still feel like shit just because they tripped and fell. Let's say in front of a bunch of people. We've all been there. But I woke up this morning and I saw a kid, maybe like 5, 6 years old, um, with his arm gone. Just his arm is gone. It just probably a bomb went off nearby. Maybe the shockwave tore his arm off. Maybe a piece of shrapnel flew. But he's a young kid. His arm is just tiny, and and he was just screaming, and it's hard to console a child and make them feel good, even when it's like something that's not a big deal, like, oh, this is unfair. You got a bigger cookie than me, or that's not a big deal. But even then, it's hard to console that child and say, no, no, it's okay, just enjoy your cookie. Just, you know. Um, but I woke up and I turned on my phone, and this kid, his reality is the worst thing that can happen to a little kid, you know. And it's not just the worst thing that can happen to a kid, it's the worst thing that can happen to anybody, which is like just genocide. Um, just just genocide. And to be a and to have your arm blown off, even if you're, I don't care how like tough or manly or grizzled or you know, I don't care if you're in the special forces or a Navy SEAL, but like if you have your arm blown off, you're gonna freak out. You're gonna you're gonna be in an incredible amount of pain. You're gonna start screaming, and um, you're gonna freak out. And all this was happening to a little boy, maybe 6 years old, maybe younger, and what's going on in his head, you know? That kid was maybe 3 or 4 years old when the genocide started on October 8th, 2023. What? Like his whole reality, most of his reality, from consciousness, from sentience till now, has just been genocide and terror and war. Um, think about the smell. Just think about the smell that he's smelling every day, Um, it's hard to console a child when they feel bad over something that's not even a big deal. How do you console a child who is going through the worst thing that a human being can ever go through, whether you're a child or an adult? How do you make that right? Can you make it right? I've heard a lot of stories, accounts of children, very young children, 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. They'll ask this really heartbreaking question. The question is will my limbs ever grow back? They're still kids, so they don't realize that once you cut off a limb, it's gone, at least for humans. Um, so they're asking out of hope, like, hey, I lost this arm, but is it going to grow back? And what do you tell that kid, Um, just know you have to live with that forever. You know. Yeah. And I'm over here, and yeah, yeah. Sorry, in Gaza there is. Well, let me put it this way: there's no other place on Earth that has more amputees than in Gaza. Another statistic that I've read is that there's no place on Earth with more child amputees than in Gaza. So Gaza is the most dangerous place for a child on Earth, easily. More than any other place on Earth. It is the most dangerous place for a child. And all of this danger to these children is preventable. That's the worst part, is that all of it was preventable. All of this was allowed to happen. All of this death and misery and starvation, all according to some evil master plan. And they don't care how hard we shout the oppressor. They don't care how hard we scream. They don't care. They don't think the way we do. They don't have empathy the way you and I do. We look at the child with the missing arm screaming, and it breaks you. Um, but the people doing this, they don't have the heart that you and I have, that feels. Um, and for them, any excuse will do. Any excuse that will justify their evil, their murder, or their genocide. Um, yeah, they don't operate like the way most people do. They're sociopaths. They're psychopaths. Like, they might even enjoy us. They might even enjoy the fact that we're screaming "Free Palestine." You know, they might actively be like, I love it when they are frustrated when we kill these children. You know. Um, you know, we expect these monsters, these demons. And when I say monsters and demons, I don't mean the Jews. I mean the Zionist political entity masquerading as Jews. Um, in the same way that the Nazi uh, the Nazi entity mindset was masquerading as Germans, you know, masquerading as human beings when they were clearly not. This is the work of demons. I don't even mean like religious, like, you know, like church. Or, I just mean just not human. This is not indicative of humanity. This is not how humanity functions normally. It is, but we know better. We know better now. You can't hide it anymore. Um, yeah, I woke up today and I saw a little boy missing his arm. And you guys have probably heard the term vicarious trauma, uh, where it, it's a term where if you are witnessing or studying or, you know, just generally observing with your eyes and ears a horrible trauma that your brain doesn't know that it's just an image. You know, you might consciously know, okay, I'm just looking at a picture of something, pixels, but your brain and your subconscious, it's not aware that you're not actually there. And so your brain is actually reacting to these horrific images and videos the way you would if you were actually there, minus the heat and the smell and the, you know, minus all of that other stuff. Your brain and your eyes don't know what's really going on. They think it's real, and it is. It's just separated by thousands of miles, but it's very real and it's truly happening. And so I've been thinking about this. I've had this thought of vicarious trauma of. I didn't come up with that term. It's been known, it's been studied, it's been talked about by people better, smarter than me. But I don't know if we're talking about that, about how. Obviously, of course, what's happening in Gaza is the worst thing that can be happening to anybody. What is observing that in real time, in HD 4K video, what is observing the worst thing that can happen to humanity, men, women, and children? What is that doing to us who are watching this. For those of us who are paying attention and watching it and looking at it every day, sharing it, commenting about it, thinking about it, uh, editing pictures and videos, sharing it again. What's that doing to us? Um, because we're seeing it every day. Uh, back in the day, in the early days of the internet, you'd really have to look for horrific images, You couldn't just find that on your For You page. Not that there really was a For You page until recently, but yeah, you had to really look for these horrible, graphic, violent images, you know. You'd have to go look for snuff films, of people getting hurt or killed or etc. It was difficult to find, and for good reason. And the only people that really went out and wanted to look at it were, they were the freaks. They all, like they were, freaks are gonna freak, it wasn't everybody. It wasn't someone waking up, and you know, and it usually wasn't the first thing you saw when you woke up. So, but now, because of social media, because of the algorithm, because of the For You page, because of the need to stay informed and the need to inform by the creator and the consumer, and it's a feedback loop. The need to create, the need to consume, the need to create. Was his name Bo Burnham? I think Bo Burnham says it best. The backlash to the thing that just begun. In a song, That Funny Feeling. Yes, the backlash to the backlash that just started. To the thing that just started. It's yeah. So it's like I want to be informed. I want to know what's happening in Gaza, or in Sudan, or in the Congo. So what do? The algorithm gives you all this data, all these images, all these videos, and hashtags, and you want to stay informed, and then you just get just traumatized. Just trying to be a good person, just trying to stay informed, you just get really fucked up in the mind. Like some of these images of these kids, like I can't forget them, like I'll just be walking down the street and just suddenly this kid with no arm just pops up in my mind, and I'm like, is that an intrusive thought? I guess it is, but it's also, yeah, of course it's an intrusive thought, but it's just a memory at the same time, and so yeah, like what's happening when the people of Gaza are being traumatized? What happens when that trauma is visually and mentally traumatizing everybody else who's paying attention? That's not healthy for anybody. Like the very act of staying informed, the very act of observing and sharing and talking about this genocide is creating generational trauma for millions of people, possibly billions. I don't think that gets talked about enough. Not that we are not. I'm not saying that we on the outside are the victims. No, the people in Gaza are the victims. The people under Israeli oppression and colonialism and the genocide conducted by Israel. the Palestinians, they are the victims. But simply observing from a place of good faith and simply observing so that we can stay informed and be made aware of what's actually happening. This very vigil is traumatizing anyone who's willing to do that. Yeah, so even if the genocide somehow ended today, like it's July 26th, Saturday, 2025. Let's say I don't know, like Netanyahu dies, and all of his cabinet dies, and like every IDF soldier just evaporates. I don't know. I'm not anti-Semitic. I didn't say the Jews. I said the Zionists and the IDF soldiers. Let's just for example, let's just say that any Zionist or any human being that has Zionistic goals and wants to hurt children and starve children, let's say that all of those people just Thanos snapped, let's say that happened right now. Let's just that like this is when this is great, the genocide would be over, but this is also, how do you take care of these people? Mentally, we can feed these people, sure. And even in the process of feeding these people, many would die of shock, food shock. But the survivors of Gaza, how do you help them? Like, how that their minds are so fucked up and so warped. Even the strongest of them, I've heard that, the people who lived in Gaza, let's say a few escaped, they can't be outside when there's a helicopter. Like, they just can't. It's just because it's so scary. What, like, how do you help that person? And that's just the shock. That's just like the involuntary horror and trauma. What about your Gazan, your Palestinian from Gaza? Let's say you survive. Let's say the genocide ends today. In your mind, you're like, we were screaming at our phones. We were screaming through the screen saying, save us, every single day. And the whole world, other than Yemen, the whole world watched as our children starved, the whole world watched as you dropped bombs. Just mentally, where can you imagine how betrayed you'd feel by all of humanity? Other than Yemen, could you imagine the betrayal that you would feel from every single country, especially the United States, especially from Israel, and you'd want revenge. You would want revenge. If I was Palestinian, I would want revenge. If I was Palestinian, you couldn't stop me from joining Hamas. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I want to join Hamas. I'm not saying people should or shouldn't. What I'm saying is that if you're a child and you just watched Israel blow up your parents, or you are a parent and you watched Israel blow up your child, how can you not join Hamas? How can you not go, oh, I want a weapon right now so I can kill the people that killed my family? That's just a natural response. I'm sorry. Like, it's like, um, if I'm Palestinian and the genocide ends today, I'm going to war against the whole world, you know, especially Israel, but really against the whole world, because like, it's like how could you guys stand by and do nothing? How I'm guilty of that, you know. I'm racked with guilt, man, every day. Uh, Not that I could do anything by myself, not really. But it's if I want to, I can eat food every day, And I'm looking at my phone and I'm seeing like babies starving. Uh, and there's no difference between me and that baby, It's just about luck. It's just about you know, that baby could have been born me, and I could have been born that baby. Uh, yeah, and I don't know. Sorry, this is a really depressing. I don't know, video. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's for 2 years, I've just been posting and talking and commenting about Gaza. Um, you know, and millions of people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people, possibly billions of people, have all been saying, "Free Palestine, free Gaza, free Palestine, free Gaza," for 2 years. Not enough people, but millions of people, possibly billions of people. Um, but but it's not enough. You know, is it a numbers thing? Is it if everybody screams it enough, it'll end? Do we need assassinations? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know how it works. I'm an idiot. So I don't know. I just want to get my thoughts out there. I don't know. I don't have any answers. I'm just horrified, you know. Uh, and this is really bad because, of course, what's happening in Gaza is the worst. It's a genocide. It's a Holocaust. It's the worst thing that can happen to humans done by other humans, and that is the worst thing. But what happens is it sets a precedent. It sets us on a path that's very dark, a very slippery, dark slope, where it says it's okay to starve children. That you know, I don't think that's okay. I know you think that's not okay, but when the most powerful governments in the world all get together and say, you know what, like we're not gonna stop this. In fact, we're gonna support it. Then, then nothing is sacred anymore. And when nothing is sacred, then evil reigns. Like evil is the law of the land. If if we can't agree if it's morally correct to feed children or not, if we can't agree on that, if we can't agree that starving children is bad or not, if that's a debate, then I don't want to live on this planet anymore, you know? Like that shouldn't be a debate. It should just, even evil people, even like crazy murderers, even violent assholes, you get 10 of them, 9 times out of 10 I think they're like, yeah, I'm going to feed my kid. You got to feed children. You know what I'm saying? I think even violent axe murderers can agree that, like, yeah, you don't starve kids. You know, these violent axe murderers are like, yeah, I'll chop someone up, and that kind of shit. These axe murderers, but they're like, but yeah, when they're an adult, I'm not gonna starve a kid. That's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like it's that bad. It's like even psychotic assholes can agree that, like, starving kids is wrong. But things have gotten so bad that there has to be a debate about this now. Like, is starving children bad? Like that's a debate. Like if that's a debate, then we're all fucked. We're all cooked. Humanity is cooked. Like this is all really bad. That shouldn't be a debate. And if it's a debate, then how far have we fallen? From what heights have we fallen? Um, I'm not saying we had it all figured out in the past, but that shouldn't be a debate, and it shouldn't be normalized. You know, um, when did the life of a child become so cheap? You know, I was born in '91. When I was growing up, like uh, a, a, the, a child, the innocence of a child was everything. It was the most important thing. It's like, when the Titanic was going down, women and children first. You know, in any crisis situation, it's keep the kids safe. You know, then keep the women safe, and then finally keep the men safe. And men, like go and fight the danger. You know, um, so it's when did the life of a child stop being sacred? That's what I want to know. Did the when did the life of a child become so cheap, and when did it lose its sacredness, its sacredity? You know, when did a child's life become a commodity, a product? A la Jeffrey Epstein and co. Um, was it always like this? Um, when did more people start bowing to Moloch rather than destroying his idols? Um, yeah, if you live in a world where you have to debate if the life of a child is sacred or not, then we have lost the plot. We have lost our humanity, and there's nothing but hell waiting for us if we don't figure this out. Did it start with the school shootings? Was that when we lost the value and the importance of the innocence of children and their lives? Did it start with the school shootings? Did it start? I don't know when it started, but um, everybody back in the day could agree on that. Like, the children are sacred. Their innocence is sacred. Their security and their happiness is the most important thing. It's what all of society is geared. Hopefully, geared and crafted and engineered to do, is to protect the lives of children so that they can become intelligent, sovereign, strong adults who can then have children and then can hopefully have a good cycle. Um, we have really lost the plot. We've lost our way. We've lost our humanity. Uh, every time a child in Gaza is killed, we are losing collectively as a whole our humanity. Every time a child in Gaza is starved, we're not just losing a member of our human family, an innocent child. Uh, we are also losing um, our right to call ourselves human. We are losing our right to call ourselves sovereign. We are losing the right to be happy, damn it, to be self fulfilled because we're losing our youngest and best, um, and our humanity along with it. Um, and there will be nothing left. If nothing is done soon, then there will be no more children in Gaza left. There will be no more women left in Gaza. There will be no more men left in Gaza. Everyone will die. And it will not just be them that died and were murdered and killed and genocided. We will have genocided our humanity. When that happens, not just Gaza will be dead, everyone will be dead. Spiritually, mentally, and physically, in every single way. So, if we free Palestine, we will free our humanity. If we let Palestine die, then all of humanity will die. This is an existential crisis, not just for the Gazans, not just for the Palestinians, not just for the people in the Middle East. This is an existential crisis for all of humanity, for all time. If, like, it's a choice now. Yeah, you have to make a choice. It's, do you stand with the Palestinians or do you stand with, you know, demons? You know, it's up to you. Um, that's all I wanted to say. Sorry if it was very wordy and heavy. Um, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Free Palestine, free Gaza.